Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Real again, and this video is just a continuum from the one I did previously, discussing sleeplessness and sleep issues and babies. And I wanted this video to be about discussing the specifics of it, preferably how to know if your baby is sleep deprived. And I'm going to start by doing a real brief description of my experience. Basically, I had a little girl. I was full term, so she wasn't premature. She was 40 weeks. No difficulties during labor. Some stress during the pregnancy. I don't know if it's more than average. I think all pregnant women are probably extremely stressed out. So I had some difficulties, not a lot of support outside of my husband. He was the supportive force throughout my whole pregnancy, him and my father. But not a lot of women in my circle outside of my midwife that were very supportive. So anyway, I wanted to be exact, so I did write it down. So pardon me if I look up and then look down. Um, Basically, she was breastfed. I had a healthy milk supply. It took a while for it to come in, but she had plenty of colostrum. But when she came home, uh, within hours, she was quiet. And then when the sun went down, I mean, she screamed and cried bloody murder. Literally, she cried for days. Specifically, she cried for 3 days. I mean, and it was so much crying that me and my husband had to do shifts. You hold her, I'll go get 2 hours. I'll hold her, you go get 2 hours. It got that bad. And so when I called her pediatrician, the pediatrician said that it sounded like she had colic. And I'm the type of individual who, when I hear a medical issue, I like to do research, not just on the internet, but go into my university library and get some medical research. And doctors, they'll tell you themselves that there's no agreement on what colic exactly is, or if it's a medical issue as much as it is a temperamental one. And just quickly, how I feel about it, I think that babies are coming from a situation where they're warm and they're nourished, they're being breathed for, they're being taken care of in the woman's womb. Um, and when they come out, I think that is very traumatic. And for some babies, they can handle it, and some babies, they can't. And I think that my baby was like, this is not what I want. And so she cried a lot. And when I say I cried, she cried a lot. She cried a lot, extensively. Anyway, after I spoke to her pediatrician, she said that it would pass. I gave it a month, not passing. 2 months, it didn't pass. 3 months, it didn't pass. 4 months, it didn't pass. 5 months. And they say the colic period usually ends after like 4.5 months. She was still crying like that. And I don't think you understand when I say she was crying like that. I mean, I couldn't put her down without her crying. She was in my arms constantly. I couldn't use the bathroom. I couldn't shower. I couldn't brush my teeth. I had to constantly be holding her. Even if I gave her to her father to hold, she would still cry. And so I just went on and I talked to my midwife, who told me just to just nurse her constantly until she's more tame, and get you a Moby wrap, which gave me some relief. But the thing about the Moby wrap is you cannot wear the child all the time. How are you going to shower? I would Moby wrap her in pee, but some things you just can't do with the baby in the Moby wrap. You can't cook with them in it and things of that nature. So it provided a lot of relief because she would be quiet, but she would not sleep. So she's at her 6 month mark now. I'm at my wit's end, and um, we went to the Goodwill and we stumbled across this book. People are going to hate this because I've read a lot of reviews online about how they hate Dr. Wild's book, but I was a advocate of attachment parenting, and it provided results because it kept my milk supply up. but it didn't make the house a comfortable situation where we could all get adequate sleep. So this is the book. Let me see if you can see it. It's not focusing. There it goes. It's called Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Child. What they should have in there is Happy Family too. And then they give you a step-by-step guide onto how to fix your problems. I'm going to do that in a different video. But this video is just how to know that your child is sleep deprived. Okay, extreme fussiness is the first indication. And not just any kind of fussiness. I'm talking about screaming. She would scream at the top of her lungs. At night, at day, in the car. If my breast was not in her mouth, she was pissed. When she wasn't crying, she was very excitable. Everything got her really either scared or excited. She was constantly fidgeting. So some people would say, oh, well, swaddle her. You would have to swaddle her to death to get her to stop crying. Like, I would swaddle her so tight. She would be like a baby burrito. And she would just, fidget out of that. She wasn't into, don't swaddle me. She would fidget until some limb was loose. And once that limb was loose, she was out of that swaddle. What's another one? She was inattentive and easily distracted. Everything, if you close the door too hard, she was startled. Keys rattling, she was startled. Phone ringing, she would cry. Another one was very irritable, and she cried for hours at a time. Yeah, so those are some of the indications that you have what they call an overtired baby. And like I said, they'll tell you that the child is colicky. They'll tell you that you have a high needs baby. But at the end of the day, if your baby is exhibiting those behaviors, what you have is an overtired baby. And there are so many psychological issues that the baby has when they're not sleeping well. And what I would advise mothers to do from this short video is to go online and look up your baby's age, months or years, and see how much sleep that month or that year requires, and do a sleep log. See if your baby is getting that rest. Because if it's anything less, and you have a baby that was temperamental, such as mine, they're gonna cry a lot. They're not gonna be able to be a happy baby if they're not getting an adequate amount of sleep. And for my child at that particular time, she needed at least 12 hours of sleep, and it seemed obscene to me. 12 hours, but she needed it. And I couldn't give it to her on her own or doing the attachment parenting style, because that meant having to wear her everywhere. And then when I went to sleep, even though I was nursing her and nursed her while I was sleeping, she still was very agitated. She was gaining her adequate amount of weight. She was just very irritable. And it was from sleep deprivation. And I know sleep deprivation because they have signs. And here are some of the signs again. Do they rub their eyes constantly? Are they picking at their ears, like pulling at their ears, even though you have checked to see that they don't have an ear infection? No teeth were coming in her mouth, so she wasn't teething. She was not ill. Because she wasn't sleeping and constantly crying, I went to her pediatrician to make sure she didn't have anything. She had no illness, no fever. She was growing adequately. She had a temperament that she wanted to be held, and her needs had to be met by me immediately. So that wasn't because I'm a special mommy. The reason was because she was very sleep deprived. The whining, constantly whining, tugging, pulling at you, sleeping for very short intervals. When you finally get them to go to sleep, waking up an hour later, 2 hours later, 30 minutes later, and more angry than they were before you put them to sleep. So those are some real quick ways to know that you have an tired baby, and that there is support. And in my next video, I'm going to talk about what I did in order to get her adequate sleep, the materials I used, the book I used, some of the things that I read from different places, and a sleep routine is basically what I ended up developing. But yeah, if your baby is exhibiting those things, he or she is overtired. They can't grow like they're supposed to. They can't function psychologically, and they're not happy, and you're not happy because you are exhausted. So you can't be the best mom that you want to be, and I know all moms do. So I'm going to close this video with that. I'm going to put the book and the author in the description box, because the next video will talk about how I overcame some of her sleep issues, and now she's on a schedule and she sleeps unassisted. And until then, peace and blessings.